Elkanah had 2 wives. You're like, what? Excuse me? Let me just, every time polygamy comes up, you got to stop and talk about it. So real quick, polygamy is something that is mentioned many times in the Old Testament. That's true. And people love to throw this at Christians and say, come on, how can you possibly believe this outdated, dusty book where polygamy is all over the place? I want to make this very clear. If you've ever had a college professor say this to you, that how can you trust the Bible? It promotes polygamy. Well, if you've actually read the Old Testament, you will realize that it never promotes polygamy. If you read the Old Testament, you'll actually find out it tells you everything that can possibly go wrong if you practice polygamy. Most of the problems in the Old Testament, I'm not even kidding, a large number of the problems that happen in the Old Testament happen as a result of the family drama that comes from polygamy. So if you look at this, for instance, the turning point in Old Testament history, when everything was looking great, David had passed his kingdom on to his great son Solomon. Solomon, he was the richest, wealthiest man who has ever lived. Bill Gates is put to shame by Solomon's wealth. He was so wealthy that silver was treated like gravel in Jerusalem. Just try to picture that level of wealth. It was like, oh, silver, get that out of here. I need my gold. Gold and jewels only, no silver. And so he was that wealthy. And he builds this gigantic temple. And then it says, 1 Kings chapter 11 and 12 tells you the turning point of the Old Testament. The most sad part in many ways, one of the saddest parts of the Old Testament, it says Solomon married many wives, and his heart was led astray from the Lord. And that is the fall of Solomon, which led to the kingdom being split in half from a civil war, and it led to major death and destruction, and the kingdom falling apart. So the Bible's not promoting polygamy. When Jesus was asked about marriage in Matthew 19, he said, it was not so from the beginning. In the beginning, God made them one man and one woman, male and female. From the beginning, He created them and covenanted them together. It wasn't Adam and Eve and another woman. It was Adam and Eve. And that's the paradigm, that's the blueprint for marriage that Jesus and the Apostle Paul used in the New Testament, and what the Old Testament people should have used as their paradigm. So the Bible's not promoting polygamy. It shows you actually all the problems that come if you practice polygamy. And I end my footnote. Let's keep moving.